All right, welcome into Five Guys, or the 305 Guys, on the Five Reasons YouTube channel. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick at Five Reasons Sports. I got Alex Donno. You can follow him at Alex Donno. And we are sponsored here by our friends over at Prize Picks. Use code 5 FIVE. Put down $5. You get $50 to play right away. Play across the sports spectrum. Legal in the state of Florida and many other states. And you can play up to 2 to 6 players. Get them right, you win. That's how easy this is. But again, the key is use the code 5 FIVE. You put down the $5. You play it. You get $50 to keep playing. So pretty simple deal there. I see tonight Andrew Wiggins at 20.5 points for the Miami Heat. Bam Adebayo at 19.5. Bam's on a pretty good streak of going over that number. He's been pretty consistently going over that number. I see Khalil Ware there at 11.5 points on the board tonight. The Heat play the Hawks tonight again. I don't know why anybody would watch this, but I have to go down and watch it in person.
Good for you.
So let's get to the yeah. I know it's like all day. I'm like, wait a second, I got to go to the Heat game tonight, and typically that would have been a good thing, but I don't know. I'm having trouble getting excited about this. Which do we want to cover first today, Donno? We want to cover the Tyreek Hill thing, or want to cover the Heat's woes?
Why don't we cover the Heat's woes, because I've been thinking about you a lot. Since the Jimmy Wiggins and company trade, because you mentioned this a couple weeks ago here on the 305 Guys, that this team doesn't necessarily have to tank, which we know is not in the Heat's DNA. That they may not have to try to lose basketball games. And correct me if I have this stat wrong, but Miami is now 1-6 since trading Jimmy Butler. And, obviously they've had plenty of cushion, above the play-in line. They basically have to quote unquote tank the rest of the season, but they're the 9 seed right now. They're not climbing, they're falling down that table. And so, we might be able to get some of the tanking effects without actually doing it on purpose.
Yeah, it is. It is unfortunate because, and here's the really unfortunate part. I don't even think they can really move much further down.
That's the thing.
And yet they can't really move much further up. I don't believe they're going to do either. So we're kind of watching this. They have 11, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 home games in March. And I don't know what's going to be compelling here. That's what I'm looking for. You host a podcast, on the Canes. You're looking for what is compelling, right? I don't know what it is. I mean, I feel like we're kind of waiting for the offseason to see if they get where the Golden State pick ends up being, because it does look like they'll probably get it this year because it's lottery protected up to the top 10. I don't think Golden State. So I feel like Miami's going to end up getting that pick this year. We'll see what happens with their own pick, which is lottery protected up to top 14. But the frustrating part of this is that you watch this team play at times and they look like they can compete, but they can't sustain. And so there's just going to be a lot of these games where either they take leads and they give them up, which we've seen over and over this year, or they just don't score enough. And that was the last game. And when they don't make their threes, they don't really have enough guys to just get it for you off the dribble. And I think that's that's frustrating. I think, again, they need someone to help Tyler offensively. Wiggins has scored, but he hasn't been particularly efficient, which is a little bit concerning to start him. But I come back to this. Detroit and Indiana have kind of separated themselves from the play-in. He's already lost twice to Detroit, so they're not catching Detroit. Like that, it's going to be unless the Pistons look like they've kind of found a formula with Cade Cunningham and their young players. So the Heat are in this mix now, with Atlanta, with Chicago, but it's hard for them to even drop out of the 7 through 10 because Philadelphia is in free fall. And Brooklyn's won 7 of 10, but I don't think anybody trusts it. So I just feel like we're just in a holding pattern, and that's kind of the worst place to be. And that's why
Heat
this is frustrating.
5.5 games above the 11 seed right now, and that's a tough lead to blow. 5.5 games,
even for them, Alex. And I think they're 4.5 behind getting out of the play-in. And that's too much ground for them to cover, I think. So they're that's
right.
It's just a question of, are they hosting a play-in game or are they not? And, I was hopeful. My whole thing has been, okay, I want to see the young players play. And now look, Jovic is out for 4+ weeks. He's not even going to be evaluated for 4 weeks. Where I think has to play through some things right now. He's clearly gotten the ire of Spoelstra in some situations. We saw him kind of talking to him on the sideline the last game. And I think Tyler is going to wear down. Like I think we're starting to see some of that a little bit, and they don't have enough help for him. So if he wears down, then what? I mean, to me, the only way that they totally drop out of the plan is that they shut Bam and Tyler down the rest of the season. But I don't think that's what they're going to do. So, and even in 07, 08, where people talk about, well, they shut down UD, they shut down Dwayne. Dwayne had a legitimate injury, and UD wanted to play through, but couldn't. And so that's kind of, and then they just gave up on everything else. I'll get to a couple comments here. Indade, playing Rozier. The answer for the well, look, they've lost without playing Rozier.
That's right.
The Atlanta game, it was so bad in the Atlanta game. We're watching on playback, and our guys will be on playback again tonight. We're watching, but we were like, well, okay, well, if you put Terry in for 5 minutes and you catch lightning in a bottle here, that's how bad it was.
That's bad.
That's how bad.
Then we had to play Atlanta again. And what was it? Was it Sunday against Milwaukee when they had the lead? And it's like I was actually I was at Epcot, not watching the game. I was just looking at the score. And when the Heat were way up, I'm like, let me do a live bet on Miami to close out and win the game. Not even to cover a spread, just to close out and win the game.
Why would Alex?
I don't know. It was because I was drinking around the world in Epcot. I wasn't
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
It was the wine festival. It was the wine festival that got you.
Yeah.
You don't bet on the Heat to close a game when they get a big lead. You just don't.
I don't
go
know
in and live bet the other side, man.
Yeah. I should have. I should have live bet the other side. I could have gotten way better odds on that. It was stupid. Had it not been for all the food and wine, I would have done it right.
I'm still a big fan of the Chinese restaurant there at Epcot. It's pretty good when you go around the world. Anyway, who's the alpha on this team? I'm a fan of all Chinese restaurants. Who's the alpha on this team? Huge decisions need to be made in the offseason. I mean, I think Tyler would like to be, but again, I don't think that he's not a 1A. Okay. They are basically, everybody is one slot up right now.
Right.
In a perfect world, as offensively, I think Tyler's your 2. Bam is your 3, and Wiggins is your 4. They don't have a 1. Now, people are going to say, well, they had a 1, but they didn't have a 1 who was playing like a 1.
Right, yeah.
So
they had a 1 showed up when he felt like it. Yeah.
Correct. And now all of a sudden he's attending. He used to show up to Spoelstra's shoot-arounds, like literally at 10 on the dot. Like he would not arrive a minute earlier. Now all of a sudden he's in the lunchroom. He's doing all this kind of stuff because he's trying to impress Curry and Draymond. I don't want to hear about what Jimmy's doing in Golden State. He would have been doing in Miami because he wasn't doing it in Miami. And I don't know even if they'd given him the contract, he would have done it in Miami. This is a new situation.
Think about it this way. Think about it this way. Has anyone out there listening to this or watching this, have you ever gotten a new job and not for like the first month? You're always a few minutes early and you don't goof off during your lunch break. And then, a month in, you start slacking, right? That's, Jimmy's still in the honeymoon.
Yeah, no doubt. This one comes. Oh, you're getting this, Donno. It was Jimmy valid and wanting better roster construction. Don't stop the weird. Donno stop the weird Jimmy hate. I don't know if it's hate. I just 21 Alex is always defending Jimmy. Yes, they needed better roster construction. I don't think anybody argues with that. Now, they did make it to the finals again. I know he had a lot to do with this. Twice in 5 years, conference finals 3 times in 5 years. I mean, they weren't the Charlotte Hornets in terms of roster construction. Could it have been better? Yes, I think we all agree upon that. But again, this idea that, well, he's playing with the greatest gravity getter in NBA history right now. Things are coming pretty easy for him. I understand why he's happy. I get it. Okay. Go be happy. But he's also, he's never getting his number retired here now with the way he acted at the end. And it is what it is. And I'm curious to see what happens on March 25th and what the fans do. I think it'll be mixed, honestly. And then probably boos every time he touches the ball. That's kind of the way the Heat fans do it, right? But it'll be mixed at the start. And I don't think Golden State's winning a title or anything like that. And that's not because of Jimmy. I don't think they have enough around Jimmy and Draymond, and who I don't think is what he was, and Curry. No. So to me, that's why they're not winning a title. But clearly they're playing better.
But they are 6-1 since the deal, though. They're the exact flip of where we are. So.
They are. No, it's not. Like I said, this is not great. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not going to
not.
argue that this is playing out great. Like you have a team right now that's kind of unwatchable, and you've got an energized Golden State. Now all of a sudden the national media cares about Jimmy. Didn't care about him
Yeah.
for the 5 years he was down here, but now, oh my God, he's good. We never said he wasn't good. Nobody
No,
ever said he wasn't
exactly.
good.
And honestly, and
Right.
with what's happening over there in San Francisco, like I'm just really glad we didn't trade Jimmy to another team in the East. Because could
Yes.
you
Oh my God.
like how much worse would it feel if like we traded him to
It was the
Philly or
Knicks.
something?
Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
Nick,
Or the Knicks.
yeah, like that would feel so much worse. And to be
Yeah.
honest, I know 21 Alex accuses me of having some weird Jimmy hate. It's like honestly, I'm happy for him that things are
Yeah.
going well over there, and that doesn't change my mind that this deal needed to get done. I think both sides needed to move on from each other. So
It's-
that's where I'm at.
Right. Right. This was a separation that needed to take place.
Yeah.
One side just decided to firebomb the house. Where it just could have moved
Yeah.
out, but just firebomb the house while you're at it. All right, let's talk. We'll talk about the Tyreek thing on the other side of this. Cap for Life says, "Is hockey the king of Miami?" Well, I mean,
Oh.
Kachuk's on late night shows. That tells you something. So we'll talk. One more comment here from Marcus Hunter, and then we'll get to the Dolphins on the other side. Bam will be 28 next year. Is he a franchise cornerstone of this roster? Needed the 20-year-old. I think this roster at this point. I think you're young, but I don't think that you keep going younger and younger. I think that we get to a point now that they accumulate some picks, and I think then you try to get somebody to headline this thing, ideally. But again, fans aren't going to be patient to see who gets out. They paid him like who? Bam? I guess they did. Well, they also paid Jimmy like it, by the way. He was on a contract making $48 million this year and basically decided not to show up. Okay, let's get to the Tyreek stuff on the other side of this. Before we do, I want to mention the great sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, our friends over at All Pro Construction Builders. You can find them at allproconstructionbuilders.com. Quality is their specialty. Hurricane season around the corner. Make sure that you get this done now. Okay, get your storm damaged windows, all of that stuff. They can do all of it for you. They are a locally owned business, family-owned business. Reach out to our guy Danny. They'll take good care of you. They'll also give you 5% off your entire order if you mention 5 Reasons, and that's in addition to the free estimate that you already get. 305-484-4429. That's 305-484-4429. It's allproconstructionbuilders.com. Huge Miami Heat fans there as well. And again, we appreciate all of our local businesses and you reaching out to them. So I'm just mentioning the name again so it sticks in your mind. All Pro Construction Builders. Speaking of topics that we have beaten to death already, we're still in the Tyreek mess here, and I'm just gonna say flat out, I've known his agent since 1997. Okay, and we had our battles when I was covering the team because I was 24 years old as a Dolphins beat writer, and at that point, if you did not have a relationship with Drew, you got beat on every bit of news because he literally
Yeah.
had like 20 players on the team. So he knew everything that was going on in every situation. And I learned that quickly. And unfortunately, Alex, my editors of the Palm Beach Post decided that it would be smart of me, right before I became a Dolphins beat writer, to do an expose about how Drew got in the business. So
Oh
Drew
my
already
gosh.
didn't love me from minute one because I got commissioned to do this thing. Now I will tell you, Drew and I over the years
Yeah.
have gotten along much better. We both are on WSVN. It's very cordial and all the rest of this stuff. But with that being said, like everybody knows, and he's done it more effectively than any agent in South Florida sports history. Everybody knows the games he has to play. And particularly with the Dolphins, we also know that the Dolphins have to deal with him because he's always going to have another player that they might want, right? And he's always got other players on the team. I don't know what to make of all this reporting on Tyreek right now. Like he has wrist surgery, he doesn't have wrist surgery, he has this, he has that. He's not going to be ready for camp. It just feels like they're just careening towards a separation here, kind of like Jimmy was with the Heat. But I don't know what pushes it over the edge because there are financial advantages to waiting. So it's
Yeah.
like you're kind of stuck with him not working in the offseason. But I mean, incredibly selfish gesture by the way by Toronto Armstead, which just frees up a ton of money for
Oh
them. And
my
credit to
gosh.
him.
Yeah. What a
He's just,
guy
I mean,
for real.
tremendous person, like and a great
Yeah.
football player. He's just
Yeah.
not
No.
healthy enough. That's the only
No.
problem.
No.
But I don't know what do they do with Tyreek now because it feels like this is not going to come to a good conclusion. But it doesn't really make sense to cut him now or trade him at the moment.
Yeah, I know what you're saying about the timing. I am of the mind that I would strongly consider trading him. Now, at his age, he's going to be 31 years old. You're probably not getting a first round pick in return at this point, but you could get, multiple draft picks, which are valuable. Anytime you get multiple draft picks in this league, they're valuable. And I maintain in the case of Tyreek Hill, you can call me a little bit of a pessimist on this if you want to, but how could I be all that optimistic about Dolphins football when this was a team that for the last, 3-4 years has been built to win now, and they've got the same number of playoff wins as you and me. Like that's where we're at, and no playoff appearances past year. So I think it's really starting to be time to look to the future more than looking to the present. I know they've been looking to the present for the past few seasons. And, you look to the future at this point, and a 31-year-old Tyreek Hill, and not only is he 31, but his game is predicated on speed, which means he's probably not going to age as gracefully as possession receivers would. I think you look at it and say, hey, if there's another team out there, I know like the Washington Commanders have been hypothesized, right? Because that's a team that is kind of in their window right now, and the Dolphins are exiting their window. If that's a team that somebody like that would give you multiple draft picks because they feel like they're a Tyreek Hill away, to me, the Dolphins are not a Tyreek Hill away. So I would rather look to the future, compile draft picks. I know that in itself is a problem because I don't necessarily trust the GM who's here right now to be thinking about the future. I think Chris Greer is probably thinking about right now because he needs to save his job. But if I'm thinking of the future, I think the Dolphins could probably be better served by dealing Tyreek Hill, because I don't think right now they're a Tyreek Hill away from winning the Super Bowl. Maybe a team like the Commanders are that. Oh, I think you're muted.
I think Marcus hits on it, and I think this is the problem when you have guys whose jobs are in jeopardy here, is that you have to wonder whether they're making decisions based on the best interest of the franchise long term. I will say this for the Heat compared to the Dolphins. In this, we do a lot of Heat v Dolphins comparisons. Yeah. I think the one, and it's not, Heat fans are frustrated by what the continuity has brought lately, right? That the organization doesn't seem to be quite up to step with the times like they were before, and it's the same people kind of doing things. The problem with the opposite, which is what the Dolphins are dealing with, is that you constantly have guys making decisions to try to keep their jobs. And I know people saying, well, he'll never fire Greer anyway. I mean, it might be true. Okay. But I think under any circumstances, he would be on the hot seat right now. I mean, beyond the hot seat. The hot seat, he would have burnt up, okay, because the seat was so hot, okay? So I just think that when you look at it right now, you're like, okay, I agree with you that not a Tyreek Hill away. I agree with you that doubling down, like having him and Waddle in the same receiver core was cute at the time, like Cheetah and and all that, and Penguin and everything. But ultimately, they need a big receiver to play with one of them. Okay. They need to go up and get a guy. I think that would help too. He's never really had that. And Jonnu Smith gave him a little of that down the middle of the field this year. But as far as an outside threat, and they've tried the guy from Pittsburgh who was awful, couldn't run the right routes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mike Wallace.
I mean, they've tried. No, not Wallace. Claypool, right?
Claypool. I thought you were talking farther back. My bad.
Oh no, further back. Well, Wallace is more a type of receiver, like a Hill type. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they've never really had that kind of guy. T1 Else is saying go get DK, and I think if you had a motivated DK Metcalf in place of Tyreek Hill, I think the team gets better. Not necessarily because DK is better than Hill right now. If Hill is motivated and not injured, but because it's a style of receiver they need. And I think it would make them better to have a little more diversity there. So I'm with you on that. But at the same time, I don't know if financially it makes sense to let him go right now, or to move him right now. And I do think McDaniel and Greer being concerned about their jobs. I don't know. I don't know if getting a future third, future fourth is going to be enough for them. And I also there's also this thing where fans, I think, don't look at it so. But we gave all of this up for Tyreek, so now we have to recoup some of what we gave up. You don't recoup it though. You got use of the player for what was it?
Exactly
3 years.
It's like I look at it like amortization. Like we've already, I think we've already recouped it even though we haven't won a playoff game, his production
Right.
on the field recoups a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, he was a near 2,000-yard receiver. I mean, that's really where you're at. And then, of course, this year he was not even a 1,000-yard receiver. So I'm with you in terms of where this should go. I don't think Tyreek Hill should be a member of the Dolphins when the season starts. When you do it, what you get for him, I think that's the tricky part of this. And I don't necessarily trust them to make the right decision on it. Let me ask you this, Donno, and then we'll go one thing on the Heat. The Heat have 11 home games. What did I say? 12 home games left in
12.
March.
You said 12, yeah.
How many will you watch?
Being honest, probably 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I'm a little iffy for tonight. I may find something else to do.
Alex Donno, questionable bad matchup. Yes.
Yeah, well, and without having both schedules in front of me, like if there's nights when like the Panthers are playing the same night, I'm probably watching the Panthers. It's big college basketball games. I'll probably be watching some. Not that the Canes will be playing meaningful games, but I do enjoy the rest of the sport. So I may be watching other stuff on some of these nights.
Well, I went to the Inter match last night, which, by the way, I got tickets. There's no bad seats in that place, and that Chase.
No, wow, yeah, it's a great building. Yeah,
it's a great building. It's 15 minutes from where I live, and I paid $30 each for 2 seats.
That's
like
good.
Those used to be $200.
Yeah.
So it's like it's worn off a little bit where you can actually
car
go.
Smell has worn off. Yeah.
But it's still a great experience, and I got to see him score a great goal last night. And then
the
person I was with had to use the restroom, so we missed the next 2 goals right before the half. But still. I wasn't expecting goals in the 42nd and 45th minute of the first half. But anyway, I for a viewing experience right now in South Florida sports, this is a topic, by the way. One to me is the Panthers. You're going to get effort from them every night. High-level skill guys, obviously coming off the championship. To me, 2 would probably be Inter. I mean, you might argue the Canes, not on the basketball side. But
no, I mean, I'm a bit. It's a very different vibe. But I'm a big fan of Canes baseball games. I think it's a really chill atmosphere. Especially, just don't be careful for the Sunday noon or 1 p.m. games because you'll get scorched by the sun. But like the weekend night games,
they're 7-1, aren't they?
Yeah, they're doing just the FFAU was the only loss so far. So they're
now they go to Florida. So I'll give you that one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But right now, to me, the Heat and Dolphins is the Marlins is the worst. But I mean, you're always going to get that underneath you.
Yeah.
But no, if you have money to go see something right now, you should go see this Panther team while you can. I mean, even if you're not a huge hockey fan, it's just like you're going to get.
Well, and honestly, like if you're telling me that you were able to go watch Lionel Messi for $30 a ticket last night, like that's outstanding. And for those who, and like I really love soccer, and I know you appreciate soccer, but like even for those who maybe are not big soccer aficionados, this is one of the 2 or 3 greatest of all time. A lot of people say he's there. Like you get to go watch a guy who's still playing really well, one of the greatest of all time, potentially for $30 a ticket. Like that's. You're not getting there. You're not getting like it's like when LeBron used to play here, that sort of thing. Like you're not getting that anywhere else in town right now.
And he's playing down the street from Extreme Action Park and a stop and go gas station and a Wendy's. It's the weirdest thing ever. It's really
a good Miami subs on that street too.
No, there's there was a Miami Grill right there. I know it right on Commercial near the Executive Airport. But what's crazy is it would be like LeBron playing his games at the JCC. It's just weird. It just doesn't make any sense that he's there. But it was a great environment last night, and I'll be honest, it's the first one I've covered one, but it's the first one I've gone to as a fan because last year I was just like, I'm not going to pay $200 a ticket. But check your ticket apps because you're better off doing that than a Heat game right now. All right, Alex. I don't need to see a team shoot 17% from 3. All right, Alex, appreciate it. Appreciate everybody for joining here. We'll be back next week. We are still producing episodes of 5 on the Floor, so we'll have those up tonight. I think Greg Sylvander and our guy Adele will be on there tonight, so check out that coverage and have a great weekend if we don't talk to you before then. Thank you, Alex.